Coverage of the West Virginia Governor's Debate, courtesy of West Virginia Broadcasters Association and WSAZ in Charleston. Democrat incumbent Joe Manchin is seeking a second term. His Republican opponent is former State Senator Russ Weeks. And according to the nonpartisan Cook Political Report, this race is rated safe Democrat. Live coverage from the Clay Center in Charleston, here on C-SPAN 2.
I'm Hoppy Kercheval from the Metro News Radio Network. Welcome to our debate tonight between Democratic Governor Joe Manchin and Republican challenger Russ Weeks. Our debate is sponsored by the West Virginia Broadcasters Association and Dixon Hughes. And I especially want to thank all the TV and radio stations across the state that have set aside time tonight for this important event. First, this will not be a debate in a classic sense. It's really more of a meet the press type format, where I'll be asking a series of questions to our candidates and follow-up questions. There are no time limits on responses, but I'll try to move the discussion along and try to make sure each candidate has a chance to answer and to respond. And Governor Manchin and Mr. Weeks have agreed to that format. I have determined the questions for tonight. Included are questions also I solicited by emails, and we'll get to about 3 or 4 of those tonight. We've asked the audience here tonight not to applaud or cheer or express any type of approval or disapproval except at the beginning and at the end. So we'd like to start tonight by having the audience welcome Governor Joe Manchin and Russ Weeks. And by a flip of the coin, Mr. Weeks gets the first question. So, Mr. Weeks, the last couple of weeks have been tumultuous in the world of finance in this country and around the world. What impact do you think this crisis is having on the state of West Virginia, and what should the governor do, if anything, about this?
Hoppy, West Virginia is now and always has been insulated in a way by coal from the national and international financial problems. We are in a situation now where if we would take advantage of it by reforming our tax structure to get businesses to locate in West Virginia, this is an opportunity we have right the United States also are going to be going through some troubling times. Now, if we could present them with a business plan, an economic plan of how we do things in West Virginia, then I believe we can get businesses to return to West Virginia. That's an interesting concept, Hoppy, getting businesses to return to West Virginia.
Well, if this is, and we're going to get to taxes a little bit later on, but can you name 1 or 2 specific tax changes you think that you would make as governor that would allow West Virginia to take advantage of this tumultuous time?
Are you going to limit me to 1 or 2?
Well, just let's start there. Okay. We'll see how it goes.
Right off the bat, the food tax, the business franchise tax, the inventory tax. Inventory tax, if we had warehouses here in West Virginia, and West Virginia is geographically ideally suited. We're 8 to 10 hours from half the population of the United States. Hoppy, did you know that Walmart does not have a distribution center in West Virginia? Because no one is going to stock a warehouse just so that they can pay taxes on it, you know, every year.
Governor, what do you think of that plan? First of all, the question is West Virginia going to be impacted? And what do you think of Mr. Weeks' comment that we need to make tax changes to take advantage of this situation if other states are struggling?
Well, let's just say 4 years ago when I was elected governor, I looked at the state finances. I'd gone to Wall Street and talked to them and found out where our weaknesses and what we had to do to strengthen ourselves. Workers' comp was our Achilles heel at that time. We needed insurance reforms. We needed to diversify our economy. We did everything possible with that, and I credit this to a responsible legislature that worked on both sides of the aisle, Democrat and Republicans working together to really bolster our financial position. We've been very dedicated and very disciplined in doing this over 4 years. We are now at the position and poised really to take advantage. We would not be ranked the best economic growth in the nation right now if we hadn't done things right, I can assure you. We have had the highs and lows, again, of the extraction industry of coal and all that, and we've never been ranked like this. We're the 7th lowest unemployed state in the nation right now. As far as when you look at our rainy day account, when I took office, we had 2.5%, or about $79 million in reserves. We have $576 million, 14.55%. We're in the best shape to weather this. We will be impacted, and I tell people that. Don't get a false sense of security. We've got to be very, very diligent in what we're doing and how we manage the people's money.
What about the tax changes that Mr.
Tax changes, this is what we've made. we are eliminating the franchise tax. By 2015, it'll be gone. We did it in a responsible manner. We reduced the food tax 3%. We have eliminated the inventory manufacturing tax, manufacturers, and that has stimulated it. We have done everything humanly possible to put money back. And in fact, over 3.5, not even quite 4 years yet, Hoppy, we've put $400 million back into people's pockets of West Virginia, reducing taxes, growing this economy of ours, building reserves up, paying down debt. And I think that we've weathered it pretty well, and we're in the best position to go.
Mr. Weeks, the governor's saying some of these tax changes, they've already made it, like lowering the business, phasing down the business franchise tax, phasing down the corporate net, the food tax. He's saying those changes are already being made.
Hoppy, his plan is to draw this out 2012, 2015, 2020. Anytime during that period, someone can come along and say, you know, we're going to stop it. West Virginia needs bold steps taken now.
So would you cut these taxes now? Would you get rid of business franchise completely now? And would you get rid of the food tax now?
Well, what I'm going to do, Hoppy, is appoint a council of economic advisors, some of the big names that you hear all around the state. I want to use the resources of our institutes of higher education, higher learning, to advise me on these situations. My goal is to eliminate business franchise tax, the reduced corporate net income tax to about 6.5%.
More quickly than the governor's doing it?
Yes, as fast as possible, Hoppy. A good example of what I'm talking about is Hino Motors and Toyota here in West Virginia. The state went to them and told them if they would locate here, we will buy your equipment and lease it back to you. That way you won't have to pay the state equipment, equipment tax. Well, Hoppy, if it works for Hino Motors and Toyota, who have had numerous expansion programs, why don't we make that available to all the other businesses in the state?
Governor, any reaction to that?
We do that. That's part of our development policies. Basically, when you invest so much money and hire so many people, that's your policy. Basically, you go out and it's a sales tool. We've done that for many years. What we've quit doing, Hoppy, was giving money to people that paid low-paying jobs, low-paying wages with no benefits. We stopped that practice 4 years ago. The 23,000 good jobs and $8 billion of investment have really truly been solid jobs with benefit packages, which enables us to take care of the people who can least afford to take care of themselves. We went after Hino Motors, and we've gone after Toyota's expansion. We've gone after Coreha. We've gone after these companies. And when you start thinking of manufacturing pulling back in America, and in West Virginia they're still coming, we're doing something right.
Speaking of doing something right, and the state did get a high rating from, I think, the Rockefeller Institute last week and talked about a growing economy. Mr. Weeks, would you acknowledge that the state's economy has been growing, as is in that Rockefeller Institute report, that things are growing when 36 other states had negative growth?
Well, I think the Forbes has stated otherwise, and the Bureau of the Census says that we, since 2005, we are the second lowest. Now, all this may have changed because of just in recent days the economic downturn for the rest of the nation. But back to what the governor was saying about Toyota and Hino, the offer we made to them. In Marshall County, where they just started Consol Energy just started the liquefaction plant, and I commend them. That is the way to go. But the state made a lot of giveaways to them for that.
Did you give away too much, Governor?
They have to earn those. There's nothing given away. You have to earn it. You have to create so many jobs. You have to invest $800 million to $1 billion. And they've earned that by the investments they're going to be making and the people they're going to be hiring. If they don't get it. And then it's not that we're taking away. 100% of nothing is nothing, Hoppy. We don't have those tax dollars now. And if they are creating that much more revenue in the state, they can offset that by the growth of our economy. It's the principles of economics that we've been working with here, and it's doing very well for us.
But Hoppy, if we have the business climate in West Virginia set up in a way, we won't have to go to these companies and try to get them to come. They will look at at what's going on with other businesses and see that it would be advantageous to their bottom line to locate here.
I'm going to give a rating, A through F. Governor, what's the business climate of West Virginia today? Russ Weeks, what's the business climate of West Virginia today?
Well, first of all, I think Russ brought something about Forbes magazine.
Okay.
Forbes magazine's ratings has taken most off of corporate attorneys their opinion of the state. And I think that's been verified. But with that being said, Expansion Magazine, they survey over 19,000 businesses around the country, and we ranked 8th in the nation of where people should expand or were going to come to expand or felt that that was a good place to expand. These indicators you don't hear much of. It's, you know, we have been stereotyped for so long, and we've been working so hard. And now when you can look and say we're #1 in economic growth, we're 7th in unemployment, also during these troubling well, we can always do better, but we have moved up tremendously, and I would say that we're at B, moving on A very strongly.
What would you say, Mr. Weeks?
Hoppy, I'd say we're D, just
a D.
A D, approaching F. Dr. Russell Sobel, Dr. Russell Sobel said that West Virginia is the most socialist state in the United States. In fact, there's 2 ex-communist bloc countries that have a freer economy than we do in West Virginia. Businesses are not going to come here with an economic outlook
we
like
have,
that.
We have, I think, and I, with all due respect, we just have a fundamental difference of opinion here, basically, of where we are and where the state is and where we're going. The positive, the good feeling that people have about themselves, the good feeling the state has right now, and the can-do attitude. We haven't had that before. This is truly a new West Virginia. This is not the West Virginia of 5 years ago. And when you look at all the good things that are happening, and you've got people moving here, and you've got people making things happen, investments. Investment's a telltale. Follow the money, Hoppy.
Let me move along. I said at the beginning that we actually had people email in questions. Let me get to the first email question tonight, and this comes from David Bissell in Salem. And Governor, will direct it to you. What are your specific plans for maintaining and improving West Virginia's roads and bridges, as well as building new roads if you are reelected?
Well, basically what we have done, and you see the building program that we have right now, the Highway Trust Fund, the Federal Highway Trust Fund, is basically broke. The last meeting I attended for the National Governors Association, President Bush told us not to expect any more helpers from the Highway Trust Fund. It just didn't have the money, and we had to go it alone if we were going to build any new roads. And we're looking at every innovative, creative way that we can do it. What we did, we put a core maintenance program together. The bottom line, when you build something, you don't maintain it, then basically you're not getting useful life from it. We start a core maintenance program. There's been some criticism because it's a change of what people have been used to. The core maintenance program, basically every county should depend on what roads, because of utilization and what timetable they're going to be repaired. And when they're going to be repaired, they're done in such a fashion that they're done and done right. Proper drainage, proper berming, proper cutting, all the things that we're doing. We've spent more money in the last 3 years on roads and continue to. But Poppy, ours is a dedicated tax. Ours is not from the general revenue.
Should we find more money? Should more money be dedicated to roads, and if so,
looking at that right now. We're working with the legislature. We will continue to before the next session. And Lord willing, if I'm elected, re-elected, and return, we will find ways and dedicate. But the bottom line is our responsibility is for the safety of the road systems we have. Let me just say one other thing. I truly believe, and if you look back in history during the Great Depression of the 30s, Franklin Roosevelt built this country based on infrastructure. I really would like to see the federal government dedicate itself back to infrastructure. If they would do that, and there's enough money in pension systems and all to basically get a guaranteed return of the federal government that every state could rebuild its infrastructure. All the money stays in America, and it stays state by state. It would be the quickest recovery plan we would have.
Mr. Weeks, what's your thought about? Do you have a plan for improving West Virginia's roads, and do we spend more money? And if we do, where does that money come from?
Hoppy, infrastructure is one of the top 3 issues that I've been trying to talk about going around the state. The governor was talking about rededicating money. Hoppy, the money is there. We have a good old boy system in work now in the Department of Highways. Governor Manchin is selling off a lot of the state's equipment. Then he's turning around and using this as an excuse to contract out a lot of the work we have. I have talked to road workers, believe me, all over the state. One road worker, for example, told me on Route 35, they were required by the contract to set up 2 offices, one that they work out of and one for putting on
Well, let's zero in on this. So you're saying that maintenance, because I've been checking on this, you're saying that road maintenance is that we're selling off expensive state equipment and contracting out to private contractors road maintenance. That's what you're saying. And you're saying that's a bad thing.
Yes.
Okay, all right. And Governor, is that happening?
First of all, what we did, we took an inventory, and I said about the core maintenance program, I wanted to see what we had inventory, what was sitting around. We were owning equipment that was sitting 10 months out of the year, only being used 2 months. They came to me and they said, if we would change this and we'd free up $27 million and match down federal dollars, we could do so much more. We can go out and lease the equipment for a 2-month period, which every business out there does. Every person that has a common sense approach to how they should run their business will do that. I said, we should be doing the same. We haven't privatized, and we're not going to privatize. But the bottom line is we're going to utilize your dollars and tax dollars much better than we had in the past.
So so explain here the contradiction. I'm getting a contradiction. I mean,
Hoppy, I've been around talking to a lot of Department of Highways workers. I know in one district in particular, they have one grade all that they use for cleaning ditches. Motor graders, they just don't have any just about anymore. This is what they need for doing simple things like what they call pulling ditches. A lot of the Department of Highways people now are relegated to cutting grass. And this winter, you know, just before clearing snow. The money that's going out in good old boy contracts, Hoppy, is ridiculous. One of the senior officials in the Department of Highways owns a company that is making money off of these contracts.
True. So wait a minute. So someone. Yes. I mean, now you're implying something pretty serious. You're saying something in the.
That's what I'm saying.
You're saying an employee of the State Department of Highways has a private contracting firm. Yes. Where he is hired to do this work.
Yes.
And you know that to be so.
Yes.
Do you know?
I would hope that he would share it with us so we can make sure that stops if it happens. I have never heard that before, but I would hope that you've turned over to the proper authorities. And those things cannot happen. Hoppy, the bottom line is the results. Look at the results we're receiving right now and the work that we're doing, the type of maintenance that's being done. I know that whenever you change, you take people out of their comfort zones. And if they've been doing work like that for the last 20 or 30 years, and now we start putting a core plan, and basically where people can depend on it and see, and there's no hidden agenda, and it's based on what the needs are, not what somebody's wants are, or the political system that had been there forever. We've changed that completely.
Would you, Mr. Weeks, I don't want you to do it now because we can't verify it now, but after this debate, would you give if you have this to be so, would you give documentation in the governor's office of somebody who would be, I would consider that double dipping if that's going on. Would you do that?
Yes, not only that one, but there's another one.
We need all the help we can to improve West Virginia.
Let me turn to a sensitive issue, but it's one, Mr. Weeks, you've been campaigning on. That is the scandal that occurred at WVU. And you've made an issue out of the academic scandal at WVU, specifically Governor Manchin's daughter receiving the degree that she did not earn, and you've tried to link Governor Manchin to the scandal. One of your quotes is, "No governor, past or future, should exert the influence over higher education that we have witnessed through this embarrassing scandal." What do you know or suspect to be so about this scandal then?
Okay, let me start off by saying that is not my issue. I have not made that the top issue. The people around the state, when I go to talk, they constantly ask me about it. I have issues in my campaign that I want to talk about. But everywhere I go, people bring up the West Virginia University issue.
But it's on your website, you talk about it. So are you making a point? What are you saying about it?
I'm pointing out the cronyism and the friends that are in place who were responsible for Governor Manchin's daughter getting that degree.
Have you suggested, I imply from what you've said that Governor Manchin was involved in the decision to give her a degree.
Yes.
Do you believe that to be so?
Yes, I do,
And why do you believe that to be so?
Everybody who knows Governor Manchin and the way he governs knows that he has his finger on everything that happens in state government. Are we supposed to believe that he did not know what was going on with this issue? Of all the people that have gotten degrees at West Virginia University, and something like 200,000, the one who did not get, who got the degree without the required hours, it wasn't my son, it wasn't your daughter, it was Governor Manchin's daughter, Hoppy.
Governor?
Hoppy, I've had no involvement whatsoever, no knowledge, and I think it's been well documented. With that being said, rather than letting a campaign that's so serious, and the times that we're in right now so serious, to get into this type of dialogue, it's wrong. And I appreciate that Russ said that's not the direction he's going, and taking his word for that. And we're going to talk about the serious issues of the state of West Virginia, and we're going to continue to improve the state of West Virginia. WVU is a wonderful school. It's a great school, and it's doing well, and it'll do well.
Well, let me ask this related to that then. There's a proposal by the faculty group there at WVU that wants more faculty members on the Board of Governors overseeing WVU, to have more faculty influence. The faculty felt like they were out of the mix on this. As governor, or as the next governor, would you support a change in the makeup of the Board of Governors to allow more faculty members on the board, or do you think the makeup's pretty good right now? Governor, let me start with you.
First of all, let me say that the system that we have right now is not a system I put in place. This system has been in place, and it's been changed several times over the years, Hoppy, and I was not involved in any of the changes. So, with that being said, there's two renowned members that are involved. The interim president, Mr. McGraw, and Mr. Vest from MIT, two renowned of some of the most prestigious universities. They're reviewing this, and I can only tell you, I await for their, and I would anxiously await their recommendations. They've been through many systems. We've been through many systems in West Virginia. And you must remember, there is $150 million of the taxpayers' money that supports that university, our flagship university. There has to be some accountability and oversight. But with that, I would await their recommendations, and we'll move from there.
Mr. Weeks, any thought on whether there should be more faculty members on the Board of Governors that make the final decision on the hiring of the president at WVU?
Hoppy, I've been in contact with faculty, students, a lot of people that are concerned with West Virginia University. In fact, I got an email this morning talking about input from the Mountaineers for Integrity and Responsibility. I would bring all of these people together. We would sit down. Hoppy, the problem with West Virginia University is not in Morgantown. The problem with West Virginia University is in Charleston. We have got to get the politics out of this issue. The governor has appointed most of the members of the Board of Governors. Mr. Garrison headed the governor's transition team. Mr. Garrison was a lobbyist for Mylan Pharmaceuticals. He's a friend of the Manchin family. And all these people, or most of these people, are contributors to the governor's campaign. We've got to get the politics out of this, Hoppy, even down to the coaching staff. Politics should not be involved.
How so on the coaching staff?
Sir?
How so on the coaching staff?
I believe the governor had some input as to who the coach was.
I wish I could have called some play Saturday.
Let me continue on this theme a little bit. But that's a legislative issue, though, Russ, as to the makeup of the Board of Governors. That's a legislative issue. Right. So as governor and the faculty, the Mountaineers for Integrity and Responsibility, say there should be more faculty involvement. But the people on the other side say, well, wait a minute, if you get too many faculty involved, then you lose some sense of control. So should there be more faculty on the Board of Governors, or is the makeup okay? Is how it's made up okay?
Well, I'm not as aware of the makeup of that board as the governor is, because he's been personally involved in it. I would sit down and talk with the current system we have, talk with those people, and get input from everybody concerned and make the decision as to which way to go. But like I said, Hoppy, we've got to get the politics out of higher education, and West Virginia University in particular.
Let me just continue on this theme for a minute on your campaign, Russ, where you've talked about cronyism. You told the Shepherdstown Observer newspaper,
yes,
if you look at where he, Governor Manchin, has total control of different departments, and he has placed relatives as the head or leading members of boards, the awarding of contracts, the good old boy system, if you look at everything, look at the entire situation. And that's been one of the themes of your campaign. Can you identify, for the record, and you mentioned contract in here. Can you identify for the record a contract that you say that Governor Manchin has awarded to a friend or a crony?
I'm not saying that Governor Manchin has. I'm saying that the officials that I'm talking about in the Highways Department own a company or companies that have benefited from Department of Highways contracts through this good old boy network.
Governor, how do you respond when Mr. Weeks talks about cronyism or about the fact that, frankly, your wife is appointed to this, Gail is appointed to the State Board of Education. Mark, your cousin, is in charge of the School Business Authority. School Building Authority, I'm sorry. How do you respond to that?
Well, basically, mine's all on results. I think anybody that knows me knows that I look for results, and no matter who it would be. And when we speak of that, first of all, my wife Gail, who is an accomplished educator, who I'm just delighted that she is involved in helping me the way she is. It's a tremendous partnership we have, and especially with education, she helps me an awful lot there. But she understands that, and she has a passion for it. Does a great job. There's no pay. And I think he's talking about my son might be on the tourism. And his tremendous involvement and love of the state and involvement that he has there. There's no pay. Mark Anthony Manchin, who is an accomplished PhD of education, a doctor of education, and he is the head of the SBA, doing a terrific job as far as getting schools, and he's probably had more contracts working in more construction areas under his leadership when he was the superintendent. So these are all qualified people. But the bottom line is they've got to perform. I wouldn't put any member of my family above any member of the state of West Virginia or any person in this state.
Mr. Weeks, do you think they're qualified?
I haven't seen the resumes. I'm not going to pass judgment on that, but Hoppy, I've already made apologies to my members of my family that none of them are going to get jobs. And I have a niece who is a teacher, just very short of her doctorate. I have one niece who is a school principal. My son-in-law is a master's degree English teacher. And these people have already been informed that no matter what their talents are, what their profession is, I'm not going to have anybody in my administration with the same last name as mine. And the appointees that I make, department heads, we're going to have that understanding also.
Let me go to another question that was emailed to us. Actually, this gets back to sports, but I think it's one that people might be interested in. And Jeff Campbell emailed from Lewisburg the question for today. Do you believe that the two teams should play every year in football? And if the schools cannot agree on their own to renew the series, should the governor intervene and make that series happen every year?
First of all, let me say that I do believe the two teams should play every year. That was the 12th team, the 12th game. If you look back in history and look around the country, Tulane and LSU, and you look at some of the different rivalries or in-state games, it mostly took the intervention to make that happen for whatever reason. Basically, when the 12th game was added to the season in sports, it was done for financial reasons. Now, I don't know of any other game that has a guaranteed sellout every time and every place it plays, whether it's Morgantown or in Huntington. And every bit of that money stays in West Virginia. It's a win-win-win for us all. And it's a tremendous, and Marshall's done such a great job over the years, has earned the right to play, and I think it's been a great series.
Mr. Weeks, do you think they should play every year?
If it is decided on by the two athletic departments, the two athletic directors and the school presidents, I knew when this got started a few years back that we were asking for trouble when politics got involved. When the legislature sits down, Hoppy, and tells the two schools that they will play, that's wrong, Hoppy. Politics should not be involved in higher education to the extent of, say, are they next going to say they have to wear neutral colors or something? It's just, no, I would not get involved.
So a distinct difference here, Governor.
I have to defend the legislature. They were not involved. I'll take all the responsibility on that. I brought the two together. I asked them to look with the 12th game. It hadn't interfered with anybody's schedule. It wasn't breaking up any contract you already had. Would you two sit down as responsible? And they did, and they did a very, very good job. Eddie and K.O. Markham, Eddie passed along. And I applaud both of them in coming to a decision that was good for the state of West Virginia.
A question for both of you, and Mr. Weeks, I'll start with you. Do you believe that man-made emissions of carbon dioxide are causing the planet's climate to change in ways that are or will be dangerous to human beings? Why or why not? Do you believe in global warming, and do you believe carbon emissions are responsible for global warming?
Hoppy, I'm not saying that the temperature is not rising to whatever extent it is. What I want everybody to be aware of is for as many scientists that someone produces that says it is man-made, there are other scientists who are saying it is not man-made.
What do you think? I mean, which do you believe? Do you believe that
I do not believe the problem is man-made. I do not think that the governor or the president or Congress or the legislatures should make decisions based on inaccurate science, junk science. Until we know, Hoppy, we cannot take steps that are going to brutally impact a lot of the people, especially in this state, on that issue.
Okay. So you do not believe that global warming, that man-made activity, man activity contributes to global warming?
No, Hoppy, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that man may be having some small impact, but not to the point that a lot of these organizations are having us believe.
Mm-hmm. Governor, what do you say? What do you believe?
I do believe. I believe that we have polluted the atmosphere, we've polluted the environment. But with that, we've grown the greatest industrial might, we have the greatest middle class, we have the greatest economy history has ever recorded. So there's a balance. We have a responsibility now, Hoppy, to use all the technology through our research to help not only clean up America, but clean up the world. And I believe West Virginia can be an energy leader. I truly believe we'll be a world-class leader in energy. We are going to use coal, and coal is going to be used around the world. If we stop using coal tomorrow in America, there'll be more coal, I'm told, used around the world than ever in history. That's a fact. With that being said, then why don't we use through our research in the federal government truly get an energy program and an energy policy that is realistic, and find the technology right here. We put $50 million, bucks for brains, in our two research institutions, WVU and Marshall. We're going to be moving very rapidly, trying to find a new technology that's able to take the clear stream of carbon off, the heavy metals, be able to go back and retrofit the existing and older coal plants that we have, then be able to go to China and India and help them too. That's truly progressive. And you're going to have a mix of coal, nuclear, and we're going to have a very aggressive, Lord willing, and if the people would return me back to Charleston to work with them as governor, we're going to have a very aggressive energy policy. It's going to be based around renewables also as part of this mix, showing the rest of the world how serious West Virginia is and how we can be a leader.
But you do believe that man-made emissions are contributing to...
Absolutely.
Okay. You believe
Absolutely.
that?
Are contributing or causing.
So you said contributing, right? You believe they're contributing.
I said contributing. Now, Hoppy, I don't want to come off of this as the one that's all for polluting the world. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that man may be adding to the problem a little bit, but I think we ought to take into consideration that it is cyclic also. Any scientist will tell you that the weather goes in cycles. I am with the governor also. All the money that has been poured into our universities for clean coal technology, yes, take advantage of it. But let's not make hard decisions right now based on the fact that we think that man is causing this.
Hoppy, I can remember back in the 50s when I used to go to Pittsburgh with my parents, and we passed through the tunnels and you couldn't see. I've been to China here just recently last year. I couldn't see across the street. So there's no doubt that we're polluting. Now, they're going to continue to burn because there's no other stable form of energy, and there's no other technology coming on quick enough to be able to pick up the load. And there's no other types of energy that we have that will do the base load. That means day or night, rain or shine. Mm-hmm. You have to take a realistic approach to what we have and work with all the energy we have in this great country to make us more independent. The big problem that I see is no one seems to be looking at the security of this nation, and as vulnerable as we are right now. You know, in 1974, the oil embargo, we were only about 24% dependent on foreign oil. Right now, we're dependent over 60%.
Let me get some other questions in here because time is already growing short, believe it or not. This is a question emailed in by Bethany Underwood of Charleston. It's a personal question for both of you. And Governor, why don't we start with you, then we'll go to Mr. Weeks. What is the one accomplishment in your life, Bethany wanted to know, that you are most proud of? Likewise, what's been your biggest professional or personal mistake?
My biggest accomplishment has been in assisting my wife in raising 3 children. And she's done most of the work. Mm-hmm. Having a family that I'm proud of, being able to contribute and give back something, coming from a family that taught me that it was a responsibility that we all had to give something back, and really, I think, treat every human being with the dignity and respect they deserve.
How about a failure?
If I'm looking at one thing that I think I failed and I feel that we can do more of is not having enough health care for the citizens of West Virginia. I'm working so hard on that. And we're working hard. I'm determined that every working human being in West Virginia, every man or woman that gets up in the morning willing to go to work, we're going to get them affordable health care. I'm committed to that.
Mr. Weeks, what about what do you feel is your biggest accomplishment and likewise your biggest professional or personal mistake?
My biggest accomplishment, I'll go along with the governor, what I've done with my family. I'm very proud of raising the family I have. But I think what you're wanting to get at is politically or...
Political or personal?
Okay. Politically, I think what I did my 2 years or 4 years I was in the Senate, where I stopped the governor from taking elderly people off of Title 19 of the waiver program, taking them out of their home and putting them in nursing homes, and also on the child sexual predator bill. I'm very proud of the fact that I was instrumental in getting the current child sexual predator bill passed.
What about your biggest personal or professional mistake or failure?
I would say the biggest mistake is underestimating and being so naive about politics. I'd never been in politics till I turned 59, 7 years ago. And when I got to Charleston, I learned some things that really, really scared me, Hoppy. And the biggest mistake I've made was underestimating the power of some of these politicians that I've known to become well aware of.
Let's switch to education. We have trouble in West Virginia. It's well documented oftentimes. Attracting and retaining certified teachers. For example, we might have a math class but not have a certified teacher in math teaching in that class. And this is a problem we really struggle with. Eastern Panhandle, their issues in attracting teachers are well documented. Let me just run some things by you and see if you would be for or against any of these things, and ask both of you. What about the concept of merit pay for teachers? Mr. Weeks, let me start with you, then I ask the governor.
Okay.
Would you support merit pay for public school teachers?
Hoppy, right now, no, because merit pay is used in the wrong way depending on who is doing the judging. The teachers have a merit pay system in place. It's called the continuing education hours. After they get their degree, they start working towards their master's. Then after the master's, they continue on. And so far along these lines is when they get their pay increases.
Governor, would you support or oppose a merit pay?
That is a difficult one. Basically, there is a support right now with called National Board Certified Teachers, and when they get that accreditation, they do get extra money on that. And I support those types of things. For higher skill sets, you should pay more for higher skill sets, which we do. We have the STEP series. Hoppy, we put more money in education in the last 4 years ever in the history of the state of West Virginia.
Yet we still have the problems.
We still have the problems, and we tried to address those problems. You know, if you look at the Constitution of the state of West Virginia in 1932, it was changed. Put all the burden on the state. Before it used to be county by county, and if you look in other states right now, a lot of the boroughs or counties are really involved in that, and they have a responsibility. This falls on the state. So what we did this time is try to do a thing called locality pay. Locality pay basically said you're in a high rent district, if you will. Eastern Panhandle is competing with Loudoun County, if you will. And they're paying $10,000 more for starting teacher. So they're stealing the teachers. They don't tell you that the cost of living is $10,000 more. Their benefit package is nowhere near comparable.
So you'd like to see locality? Would you like to see locality?
I tried to do that.
Right. It was
and we couldn't do that. So we went with a local share. At that time, we were given 98% of the money we get into the school aid formula came back to the state. And they kept 2%. We've got that down to 90% now. We put $51 million into the base rate of every county for the local share and allowed them to make the decisions through the boards of education how they will divide it up and hopefully be able to attract and compete for the shortages they have and the better teachers that
and something you proposed this past session which didn't pass. What about a bonus? What about bonus system? Do you want a bonus system?
We need to go back to
pay
that.
To allow counties to say we need a math teacher, let's pay them more to hire a math teacher.
And we put money for that, Hoppy, and basically we said if you have a shortage and you can't get a science or math teacher, the rest of the world works on bonuses to fill in shortages and needs. So we tried to do that, and that was rejected. We'll go back again and work with the good legislators.
You would propose that again?
I would go back and work with them, and we're having the shortages. I don't know how else we're going to be able to fill in the shortages with accredited teachers.
Mr. Weeks, would you support a bonus pay to say we're trying to hire a math teacher, and in this county, this state over here is offering this much, so we'll add $5,000 as bonus to hire them, even though they would make more than a history teacher?
Hoppy, under my program, all teachers are going to get a bonus. The states around us, teachers are making average $50,000. Here in West Virginia, they're making $38,000. Hoppy, if you look at California, spends $4,500 annually per student. They start their teachers off at $35,000. In West Virginia, we spend $9,200 annually on our children, to educate our children, and we start our teachers off at $27,000. There's a problem here that I'm going to look at and see where all this money is going, Hoppy. If we do that,
are you saying there's enough money within the system now to pay teachers more?
Well, it looks kind of fishy, Hoppy. The California is spending half of what we're spending, and they're paying their teachers about a fourth more.
Governor, is there money in the system that you could do what Mr. Weeks is talking about?
Well,
is that a viable plan?
We're doing everything humanly possible. We had to put $1.5 billion just to shore up the teachers' retirement system. We basically opened the system up to let them come back from the 401k plan back in the defined benefit plan, which I think was very compassionate. We all worked together, legislators and administrative and our branch of government. We worked very closely on that. The bottom line is, Hoppy, is that we have a rural state and it's very expensive. We probably do more transportation of students than any other state. So the cost of doing education in West Virginia is more costlier on a pupil basis. I'm sure that there's areas that we can improve on, making sure that more money gets to the front line. And we're working on that. We filled in the STEP series. We put over $200 million in raises in
Is this plan unrealistic?
I just think that, you know, if I could work and show him the budget and be able to let people see what we're working with, they'll see that our commitment and dedication to education has been as strong as it's ever been in the state of West Virginia. And it's going to be stronger also, but we're going to basically still stay within our means. We have to.
Let me go to another emailed question. This came from Charles Wall, and again we solicited email questions from viewers and listeners across the state. Mr. Wall of Greenbrier County wanted to know about right to work. He said every southern state except Kentucky has a right to work law that secures the rights of employees to decide for themselves whether to join or financially support a union. Mr. Weeks, let me start with you. Okay. What do you think of that? Do you believe that a right to work law would help the business climate in the state? Would you support one for West Virginia?
Hoppy, I believe right to work may help. There are two issues that I had my mind made up when I first got into politics, that I would take the vote to the people. One was table games. I tried to get that vote taken to the people and I was defeated. The other is right to work. I think this issue should be placed on a ballot and let the people vote on this, because this affects our culture so much because of our history. We have been associated with the unions, and
do you think it would help if the people of West Virginia passed it? Do you think it would be a good thing, or do you think it would be a bad thing?
Some people say it would be good, some say it would be bad.
What do you think?
The businesses outside the state that I've talked to, when I asked them about what it would take to get them to come to West Virginia, no one has brought up the right to work issue. Mm-hmm. It's always been workers' comp and our tax structure. Mm-hmm. Nobody has said anything about right to work.
Governor, what about you on right to work?
I'm totally opposed to it.
Totally opposed, and why?
Reasons why, basically, is very divisive. If you have a shop, and I've talked to people that are been union or non-union, they have shops, they don't want half and half. And that's basically what you end up. And if you look at the states that have, their wages are much lower in those. Now you can say, well, yeah, but their economy and this and that and everything. Basically, it's the quality of jobs, the quality of life, the quality of the benefit packages and health care and all the things we talk about. Hoppy, for the 4 years I've been governor, I have not had one company refuse to come here because of right to work or not right to work. Not one. Now, with that being said, why do we want to make a divisive issue and turn it into something that's not there? Mm-hmm. You have Toyota, Hino, Correja, all the new people coming, and then you have the expansion of the good union jobs we already have.
A gambling issue. The law that allows the permits for the establishments that have the slot machines in West Virginia. Sure. This is the hot spots that are around the state. There's like 1,608 of these limited video lottery locations around the state. The establishments come up for renewal in 2011. That'll either be your term or your term as governor. As governor, would you support fewer permits, more permits, or about the same for those slot parlors across the state? Let me start with you, Governor. What would you support or oppose?
When the bill was passed in 2002, it was 9,000. They put the limit at 9,000. Right. When I became governor and started in 2005, all 9,000 permits were out. As they're coming back now, for whatever reason a person turns them in or loses their license, Hoppy, we're not putting them back out. Now, the legislature is going through a review process right now. We have a Blue Ribbon Commission. John Musgrave, the head of our lottery, is working on that right now to make the recommendations, how we can better oversight, how many should be out, where should they be, what type of involvement would the community have in the counties or in the state.
Do you think we have too many? Do you think, what do you think?
Hoppy, I'm not the biggest fan in the world of these. I mean, I think...
Would you like to see them disappear? They bring in a lot of money. They bring in millions of dollars.
To say they're going to disappear is not being realistic at all. You have the Promise Scholarship tied to it. We have so many things tied to that revenue stream that we become dependent on, but basically there's a better way to run them, better way to control them.
Time is short. I've got about a minute here before we need closing statements. And Mr. Weeks, what would you do with these LVLs?
I'm all for fewer, Hoppy. I've been around the state, and in some counties it's worse than other counties. These hot spots, so to speak, are becoming nuisances. They're becoming problems. Hoppy, we should have addressed this. We should have had a little bit of foresight when this first came up under Governor Wise, I believe. This should never.
Would you push for not renewing the licenses of the LVLs again, even though they bring in millions of dollars?
I would be open to that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. Listen, we need to move to opening statements. I want to thank you, first of all, for engaging in the debate, and I want to take you 2 minutes now for each of you to give a closing statement here. And Governor Manchin, by the flip of the coin, we'll start with you, and 2 minutes for a closing statement, please.
Well, first of all, Hoppy, let me thank you and the Broadcasters Association for having us here and letting us talk to the people of West Virginia tonight. I'd like to reflect on the 4 years that we've worked together, and I really mean that, working together, and I'm very proud of bringing people together and the accomplishments that we've had. And when you think about clothing vouchers, increasing the clothing vouchers for our children, increasing service to our senior citizens, when you think of the mine safety legislation, we've all worked together, nonpartisan, across the aisle, to have landmark legislation now is adopted around the country. When you think of the 23,000 new jobs, $8 billion of investments, when you think of bringing people together that basically had common differences and then found commonalities to work, and we're building a new West Virginia, and I've said, this is truly a new West Virginia. It's not the West Virginia you knew 4 or 5 years ago. Now let me tell you where I think we need to go. We're at that level now which I think we're ready to explode. I see the activity, I see the optimism, I know where the jobs and what we can do to create better jobs, but we have to continue to be progressive and working together. We're working towards that with better benefits, better pay. We're also working with health care, and I believe very strongly every West Virginian should have, every working West Virginian should have health care. We're going to make that a reality. Also, our energy policy. We can have a world-class energy policy right in West Virginia. The education system, we are working with directing all of our efforts to making sure that children of West Virginia have the skill sets to be able to compete on a global basis. And also with continued responsible government, I am committed to make sure that this government runs in a responsible manner. And we have done that, and we will continue to do that. We've come a long way in 4 years, but we have so much further to go. Gail and I have been so proud to go around this state and around this country and really around the world to represent the people in the finest fashion that we possibly can. I hope we've made them proud as they've made us. Thank you, and God bless you, and I need your support, and I would welcome that.
Thank you, Governor. Russ Weeks, 2 minutes. Let's have your closing statement,
Thank you, Hoppy. I also would like to thank the Broadcasters Association for the time and energy they've expended. Running for governor, I've traveled to every county and every corner of our state, and I have many miles to go. Everywhere I go, I hear the same thing from teachers, highway workers, healthcare workers, coal miners, housewives. They all have stories to tell about the corruption in government, or broken promises, or the good old boy network that puts itself above the people of West Virginia. Everywhere I go, I bring people bring up the degree scandal at West Virginia University. They know in their minds what happened, but they never think anything will change. What happened at WVU is just one example of why our state can only measure progress in small steps. This is an entrenched system in our state rewarding buddies, taking care of friends, and putting those in power above the people of West Virginia. I want to speak right now directly to every voter that's tuning in tonight. You have the power on November 4th to change West Virginia. You can listen to the media and the experts telling you that you have no choice, that my opponent has $2 million in the bank and has all the right connections. I was told the same thing in 2002 when I ran for state senate against a powerful incumbent. I was outspent 10-1, and all of the experts said that my opponent was too entrenched and too powerful. Russ Weeks doesn't have a chance. But a funny thing happened on election day. The voters didn't listen to the experts. They voted their own minds and their own conscience, and I won that race. When you go to vote this year, no one can tell you how to cast your ballot. So send a message to Charleston that it's time the government pays more attention to you and your family instead of their own family, friends, and cronies.
Russ, very good. All right, 2 minutes, sorry. Thank you. Thank you very much. Listen, I want to thank Governor Manchin and Russ Weeks for agreeing to be here at this forum tonight, and we wish them the best, certainly out on the campaign trail. Also, I want to thank the West Virginia Broadcasters Association and its member stations who allowed us the time tonight on TV and on radio. In particular, I want to thank the Executive Director of the WVBA, Michelle Christ, and also Ed Lake, WSAZ Executive Producer, who produced the broadcast tonight. And thanks to our sponsor, Dixon Hughes. We also appreciate the 1 hour of airtime, as I said, that our stations provided tonight. And keep in mind that the registration, Betty Ireland tells me, ends tomorrow, and early voting starts on Wednesday. For everyone who made tonight's forum possible,